What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first live of the free challenge. I hope everyone is loving it so far. Obviously, we've only gotten one workout and our habit of, or our challenge of the day today, which is to track everything you're eating, you're drinking, any small bites, licks, and tastes. So hopefully you're enjoying that. I am going to get right into the topic today, which is why habits are better than diets in the long run, in the long term. And I think the first thing that I want to start with is really the definition of diet versus the definition of a habit. So actually, before I got on this call, I pulled up the definition of both. And a diet is a special course of food to which one restricts oneself either to lose weight or for medical reasons. And habit is a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So right off the bat, you see the huge difference between the two. Diet talks a lot about restrictiveness and doing it to lose weight, whereas habit is just a practice that is hard for us to give up because it's become something regular for us. So when we are approaching trying to lose weight, I personally would rather go on the side where it's something that's normal to me, it comes easy to me, than be on the side where I'm restricting my intake and not able to enjoy my favorite foods. So just talking about the difference there, you kind of are seeing the difference in definitions there. You can kind of already see why I lean more towards habits rather than diets. Now, I'm sure everyone in this group has been through a diet. Normally, diet has a very negative connotation of pretty much, it's called diet. So there's emphasizing the word die in there. You feel like you're going to die because we, like the definition says, often tend to lead towards restriction and inflexibility and obsessiveness when it comes to a diet, because we've been taught, conditioned by society, by our parents dieting, our moms dieting, that in order to diet, you have to be restrictive. Otherwise, you're not going to see the results you want. Of course, as time has gone by and we've gotten more research and we actually have women like myself who don't diet, but instead have habits in place that are my normal, my regular, that will lead me to leanness, it's kind of helped more and more women let go of this diet mentality and move more into, this is just a habit. And to be honest, for me, I don't say these are my habits all the time. I'm practicing habits. It's really just like, this is my normal now. And that's what I really want to help women across the world get into, where this is just my normal. I'm not dieting. I just like to have tomatoes and eggs for breakfast. I'm not dieting. I just like to have a salad over a ton of churros. And not to say that churros or ice cream cake are bad, but they don't obviously coincide, if you're having them all the time, don't coincide with having a healthy functioning body. So getting more into kind of the difference between the diet and the habit and why habits are better in the long run, I want to talk about like what diets kind of lead to and why they don't really last but work. So as I said earlier, diets are restrictive, they're inflexible, they're obsessive. You get obsessed with the fact that I'm eating chicken and veggies, and if I go outside of that, oh my God, I'm not going to see weight loss. I know a lot of you guys probably can feel me on that one, especially because every single lady that has entered this group joined it, because obviously it says ditch the diet, so you've done one before. There's also research that shows that dieting actually leads to more binging and more weight gain than any other form of eating, because it is so inflexible and restrictive. And that's why so many women will do like a 6-week challenge where they're restricting their intake completely. They're hungry during it. They're not having any alcohol. They're not having any of their favorite foods. But then afterwards, they have no idea where to go because they've only been taught this is how you do it. And they're not taught kind of the middle ground, which most of us need to be living in the middle, where, especially because we have busy moms in here, we have full-time workers, we have full-time students. We shouldn't be constantly living in the diet mentality, like I'm always on a diet. We should instead be living in this middle ground where I have healthy habits that help me stay healthy, help me have a healthy body weight. But I also have a healthy habit of being more flexible and allowing myself to enjoy my favorite foods from time to time. Now, diets do work. There's no saying that they don't. Some people say, my diet didn't work. It's not because what you were doing wasn't working. It's because you were probably binging or overeating or not being able to stick to it, not being consistent. So the diet never doesn't work. It's you, if I'm being completely blunt and honest, but they don't last. And I try to push women to get off the dieting train, because most of the time, and a lot of the women in this group already shared this with me, you're going through this up and down of I'm losing or gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight your entire life. I'm sure many of you have been doing this for years on end, because they work, but they don't last. They cause a lot of psychological burden and stress. We feel hungry, which doesn't result in long-term weight maintenance, which is just another fancy term for losing weight and staying there instead of losing weight and gaining weight all over again. Now, habits, like I said with the definition, it's a regular tendency and practice. Now, this doesn't just obviously blossom out of nowhere. You do have to practice it, be consistent with it, and obviously know the habits that you should be engaging in, especially when it comes to weight loss. Obviously, we know if we want to get a promotion at work, we have to consistently show up to work on time. We have to consistently network. We have to consistently obviously do good work. So just like with getting a promotion at work, in terms of losing weight, there are habits that are going to push us closer to that goal, which we'll actually get into tomorrow. But I did just want to talk about why habits are better in the long term. So habits really require you to master a skill. It requires you to master that specific thing. So I'll give you one of the habits already that we're going to be going over. One of the habits is like eating only 3 to 4 meals a day and making them bigger rather than like tiny 6 meals a day. You really have to master that before moving on to another one, because if you stack them on, and I'll mention this in one of the things tomorrow. If you stack on a bunch of habits at one time, which is normally what diets do, you cut your calories, you cut your favorite foods, you only drink water. That's too many things to cut at one time. We get over ambitious, and habits really require you to actually master one before moving on to the next so that it can become a regular tendency or practice. With habits, you can achieve goals like losing weight, looking better without sacrificing your quality of life as well. And that's because you have a habit in place, let's say, of I'm just going to make sure that every meal has protein in it. That naturally will, which we can talk about later as well. I can get very deep into stuff, so that's why I'm trying to kind of hold back in certain areas, because it will be shared in during the rest of the week. But really, my point there was, with habits, you can achieve your goals, albeit a little bit slower, but you won't sacrifice your quality of life. Being able to go out with your kids and your husband, being able to go to the fair, being able to go to a baseball game and enjoy a hot dog. You won't have to say no to those things because you'll have habits in place that will lead you to your goals even while you enjoy yourself in other areas. Like I said, habits are a longer process, but you have the promise of lasting results. I have clients who lost 24 pounds with me on my group program, doing mostly diets, or mostly habits, not diets, and they still have kept that off. So it just shows that when you remove psychological burden, you remove the stress, you remove the connotation of I'm dieting, you really give yourself more room to succeed because you accomplished little wins, and those little wins add up over time. That's another reason why habits are so much better in the long term, because diets really make you feel like you're always failing, because you're like, why am I wanting ice cream so bad? Why can't I just have the willpower? It's not about willpower. It's like those things are actually chemically made to make you want them first. And then second, you don't have the habits in place to feel satiated enough to not crave those things. Cravings come from many different areas. So that is all why I choose to live by habits rather than living by a diet. I dieted for years before I finally was like, this needs to just be something I normally do. I dropped all of my worries about what I look like. I dropped my worries about trying to obviously be a certain weight. And I was like, I want to do this for a lifestyle. And I think that's the biggest thing here is when you shift over to habits and you stop trying to diet so much, you really have to look at it from a point of view of there isn't an end here. I think a lot of people, when they do diets, they're like, okay, at the end of the 6 weeks, that's when I'll be able to have ice cream because I'll look good and I can have it now. No, if you do it that way, that's what leads to your whole cycle of weight loss and regain. You have to know going into it that there is no end game here. If you want to be a healthy body weight, you want to have healthy habits, there's no end. You don't go through 6 weeks of hardcore sticking to your shit and then at the end of the 6 weeks, let it go and expect to keep the results that you got. So that's kind of the biggest thing, that when you're going through this process of switching over to habits from the dieting mentality, you just have to really get your mind in a place to know that there is no end game. You can't stop working out. You can't stop eating well and feeding your body in a good way. Like there's none. But you just have to accept that. I don't remember where I was going with that, but you have to accept that if you want to be successful in adopting habits and letting go of this diet mentality and being a healthy weight for the rest of your life. Because for me, when I stopped focusing on dieting constantly and how my body was going to look, that's when I saw the most progress. I lost 30 pounds and I've kept it off for over 4 years. So that is why habits are better than diets in the long run. Tomorrow we are going to chat about the actual habits that are going to get you to that goal of weight loss, fat loss, pretty much similar things. You actually want to lose more body fat than you do weight, but that's something we can talk about during our live Q&A. But thank you so much for listening. Hopefully that made sense to you and really proved why I'm very passionate about making women move into habits versus following a diet. And that's pretty much it. We will chat tomorrow, like I said, on the 5 core habits. Make sure you guys keep me updated on how your day 1 of tracking your food, your drinks is going. And I look forward to chatting with you guys tomorrow.